Ferrari Challenge here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell drivers about to take to track for their 30-minute race. The first of their races across the course of this weekend on this hallowed 2.4 kilometre circuit. 14 turns then await the drivers, qualifying done and dusted, which has given us the grid for today's race in superb racing conditions. That is for us talking about it rather than sitting inside the car, Greg Creamer.
Absolutely. Quick look at some of the history here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the fabulous museum. This is hallowed ground, to be sure. And as these drivers roll their way out onto the track, they know something very special is about to unfold. Qualifying happening earlier this morning. And one of the big stories was Mark Issa putting together a run which normally would have been for pole. He had it covered. He and Dale Katechis had big margins over the rest of the field. However, Issa had a 10-place grid penalty due to some contact that he was deemed responsible for in Montreal. So that pole goes away. He will essentially start in the 11th spot and puts Dale Katechis up on pole. And so Issa, he's going to have that fuse lit just a little bit, and he's pretty excitable anyway. As you take a look at where we have been thus far this year, now in Indianapolis, a couple of big ones yet to go.
Indeed. Homestead Miami right at the beginning of September, and then, of course, right at the end of October, the Finale Mondiale taking place in Tuscany in Italy at the Mugello circuit. Good to see. If you were watching our qualifying show, you would have seen a huge tyre issue and tyre smoke pouring off of the Eric Marston car.
Yes.
I think I just saw him coming out of the pit lane, so I think Eric Marston back out onto the track, but of course his qualifying was really compromised this morning, and he actually drove out onto the oval part of the track, didn't he, to get off the track?
He
got
did.
It so wrong.
It was what he did was very smart, in that he just straight lined it and stayed off of the actual infield part of the track. And it's good to see him back out there. You see where the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is located, Indianapolis, Indiana, in the breadbasket, if you will, of the United States. Good look at downtown on this beautiful afternoon, mid-80s. And I know we were talking with Shay a little bit earlier as we take a look at the track. It's warm out there. It's not as warm as it was a couple of weeks ago. And so that's a nice bit. Here's this track. And again, flat except for the banking when you're up on the oval a little bit, but very technical in producing some great challenges for these drivers. And the ones that have figured it out have been able to show some pretty sizable gaps back to some of the others in terms of this track. And the two big moments are top right of the corner, that run that's turn 10 at the very top, and then that it bends to the right down into 12, and then that two tight corners, that 14 run back up onto the banking, onto the actual oval, and heading counter Indy 500 race direction, if you will, down into turn 1. Hugely important sequence of corners.
Yeah, and it's, for my money, it's the second part of the circuit. If you split it into two halves, that for my money is the most technical and the easiest part of the circuit to get wrong, I think.
I think you're absolutely right, and a lot of it comes down to discipline. We talked about it. You have this, sometimes you need to wait to turn in, and every instinct saying turn in a little early here, and you need to wait to do it. At other times when you're exiting a turn, you have to have the discipline to not track all the way out, to keep the car tight to the inside on the exit, because that next corner is the one you really need a big run through, and that's what's keeping everybody on their toes here just a little bit. And two big overtaking areas into turn 1. They're using the tighter of the two turn 1 options here, a very tight right. Same story at the end of the Hillman Boulevard backstretch. They're using the tighter of the two options for turn 7 to create some good passing areas.
And that has been designed specifically for that reason, to create additional passing opportunities. As we take a brilliant look, and to the very right-hand side of the picture, that's something a bit special here on the skyline, isn't it?
It is indeed. If you're an Indianapolis Colts fan, that is where they play. And that big building, that center section, there's two roof panels, and they slide down and open up on a beautiful afternoon or evening to be able to have some natural air for a good football game. And, of course, when it gets a little chilly here in Indy in late December, you can close that up and it's nice and toasty inside. Beautiful facility, and Andrew Luck and those Colts are something fun to watch.
So some cars taking a run through the pit lane before making it to the grid. Some choosing to opt into their grid boxes early on. Some of the spectators here to enjoy the Ferrari Challenge race action that is being provided here on day one of this race weekend here I say day one, of course, it's not day one. It is day one in terms of race
Racing.
action because we've had free practices and qualifyings, etc. But the races happen over the course of Saturday and Sunday.
What they do with those recon laps, they call it, you've got two options. You can go out on a lap. If you come around and cycle through pit lane, you can go back out again and do another lap.
Yep.
Once you commit to that front straight, you park on the grid, and you are ready to go. So that is the idea. You see the cars that run down pit lane, they've got one more thing they want to take a look at or check into. And since qualifying, if you've made some substantial changes to the car or whatever, you're going to want to get a couple of recon laps in, make sure that everything is tight, everything, any adjustment setups you made, just like, okay, that's what I expected. So the last thing you want is to come whistling down into the first turn after having made a change that you think will go this way and have it
go the other
suddenly
way.
come to you that, oh, that didn't work. And so you want to know that a little bit in advance. And then, of course, everybody in the Ferrari Challenge hospitality areas up in the pagoda, looking for those beautiful views.
I have to say, we were up there earlier on, and it does afford you extraordinary views of this circuit, doesn't it? On that, on those terraces there on the pagoda on the outside. Absolutely fantastic facility here. From my side, first time to ever be here. You, of course, not, and you know it really well, but you cannot fail to be impressed.
You can't. I don't think it doesn't matter how many times you've been here. There are people that I know that have, come to the Indianapolis 500 for 30 years, and their comment is, when they turn off the interstate onto 16th to Crawfordsville, they said the hair just starts to stand up. You're going to Indy. I mean, it's truly hallowed ground, obviously. And one of the things that if you haven't been here before, you don't have to wait for a race weekend to have a very special experience here. There's a museum here that is absolutely superb. And when you come here and there's nothing going on the track, sometimes that's the best time because they give tours that actually take you out and around the speedway. And so just because there's not a race going on at Indianapolis Motor Speedway doesn't mean it's not worth a stop. There's the museum, as a matter of fact. You get down inside there, and the history that unfolds inside that museum is pretty special.
Yeah, I can imagine. So then we have our Coppa Shell race in prospect here as part of the Ferrari Challenge North America weekend, and the cars slowly beginning to come together on the grid, and on the grid as always on the hallowed tarmac, Shay.
With a little bit of cloud cover coming in overhead, so that's been quite nice for our drivers sitting in their race cars right now. 26 cars will be on the grid eventually. Not everybody here, as you can see, some gaps a little bit further back. So we're going to start with the 20th place starter. That would be Eric Marsden, who is alongside Lisa Clark. Lisa in car number 127, one of our favorites, has the best color car on the grid. Usually, she's in an all-white Ferrari this weekend, though. She has driven this car before. She raced it at a little circuit called Le Mans back in June, so she does have experience with that machine beneath her. The next row up, starting 18th, we have Kresimir Penovic alongside David Varvig. David only making his third start of the season, looking to do some improvement on the last couple of rounds. Next row up, a very impressive performance earlier on in the weekend from Mark Davies in the All-American car. Very appropriate, being here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Mark, who is coached by Guy Cosmo. Guy said to me a little bit earlier on, you would not believe the improvements in Mark this weekend. It's like a switch went off in his brain. All of a sudden, he gets it, and he's not scared of this track. That is critically important when you come to someplace as fast as Indy. The next row up, we find car number 126 of Bill Kemp coming back to the series this weekend. Watch for him to be pretty strong. It's an all-red Ferrari, but those ones tend to be the fastest, the ones that you don't always look for. Alongside him, one of the most bright and colorful Ferraris, the one that has the fireworks on it, Ferrari of New England, being represented by Ian Campbell. Ian looking for a strong weekend. His best finish so far, one step off the top of the podium. That was second at Circuit of the Americas. Row 6. Now, this is an interesting one because our pole sitter for Coppa Shell AM is here. He's not all the way up where he qualified, serving a grid penalty for something that happened in Montreal. Mark Issa, the man to watch, always worth paying attention to. Mark is amped up. He's ready to go. And alongside him, Cloud Cineretti, a guy who is riding the wave of momentum, won the second race at Montreal, the last round that we had. He's looking to try and keep that going. But seriously, do not count out that Bumblebee Ferrari of Mark Issa. When we move up to row number 5, we find Michael Watt in the Clemson-colored Ferrari. You can never, ever look away from this car. It's got the tiger on it. He's got the eye of the tiger in there, Mike keeping nice and cool. The man in the front of your shot, that would be Jeff Brown, genius engineer, but he's not the only one of those we have in the paddock this weekend. Alongside the number 150 of Michael Watt is the number 120, Keith Larson, driving that car. He has finished 4th twice so far this season. He wants a trophy, and that yellow, blue, and silver Ferrari can get it done. Next row up is our championship leader, Jay Schreiben. Now, Jay has a real job. Racing is just a passion for Jay, so he doesn't always necessarily get to take advantage of all the track time available. He did simulator work this week to try and get up to speed with the track. Clearly it paid off. He qualified very well, not as well as he was expecting, but 3rd in class. He's going to be a strong starter today. Alongside him is Johnny Grilli in the number 165 Ferrari of Quebec. Johnny's having a pretty good season. He's finished 3rd 3 times so far. All right, 3 more rows to go on this grid. Oscar Arroyo in the number 190 white Ferrari, always a very strong competitor. But the story of this row comes in the car on the other side. This is Ted Giovannis, Ferrari of Washington, car number 104. Best qualifying effort we have seen from Ted, 2nd in class. He's looking to move forward and take his 2nd podium finish of the season. The first one came at Sebring with the 3rd. He's looking to do a little bit better than that today. 2 more rows of cars to go. Car number 105. This is our Coppa Shell AM pole sitter, Brad Horseman. We talked about the great minds on the pit boxes. Brad has one of them in his ears. That would be the great Bill Riley. It's been quite a season for Brad coming into this series. His best finish is 2nd, though, which he did twice at Montreal. He's looking to try and improve on that. Alongside him, car number 138, Kevin Milstein. His best finish, 4th. Again, looking for that first ever podium. He starts 3rd overall today. And the 2 at the front of the field, they didn't qualify on the front of the field necessarily. Well, Dale Katechis did, but he qualified 2nd. He'll be starting 1st. The premium line for the guy with Dale's Pale Ale on the side of the car, a beer named after himself. Dale has been doing a lot of racing. He's ready to get this thing started. And alongside him, starting 2nd, Brian Davis, a guy who has 4 wins this year, but that was in Coppa Shell AM. He is now in Coppa Shell, and he is looking to try and improve upon the 3rd place finish that he got at Montreal. Let's see if that white, red, and green Ferrari can do it.
I wouldn't put it past him. We have seen some great speed from him, and watching him as he's made that transition from AM up into the Coppa Shell category.
Yes.
You know, that first weekend he was there, as you'd expect, a little dip. Right? And then, boom, right back into it. He has been very impressive. And I've taken to calling Dale, on occasion, Dale Contentious, because when he gets the bit, he is just relentless in his attack. And with an opportunity to start inside of the front row here, I think if Brian Davis tries anything, I think he's going to meet Dale Contentious.
Okay. Let's see then. It is an impressive grid of Coppa Shell racers who are about to do this 30-minute race here at Indianapolis. So looking forward to this racing. As I say, absolutely perfect conditions for supreme racing from this brilliant one-make racing series, the Ferrari Challenge here in North America. Hublot safety car is poised, ready to lead the cars away on their formation lap. A rolling lap start, of course, as always, for the Ferrari Challenge. And we're reaching the sharp end of the championship now, where points really do matter, with just Miami to come, Homestead, Miami, and then, of course, the Finale Mondiale here, not here, sadly, but in Mugello, in Tuscany, in Italy, when all the regions come together, North America, Asia Pacific, Europe, and, of course, mustn't forget the UK series as well.
Well, if you can't be at Indy, Tuscany will do.
Oh, okay.
I would think. And I love this shot. This is basically Gasoline Alley that you're looking at, legendary, and it's a gasoline alley chock full of Ferraris.
Yeah.
I mean, that is very special. First time that Ferrari ever ran here at Indianapolis, 1952. 5 of them came over, 3 in the hands of private drivers or teams, 2 from the factory, and Alberto Ascari, the legend. It was the year that he went on to win a championship. Came here. The cars, compared to the turbo offies, or not the turbo offies, but those supercharged offies, they didn't have quite the torque coming off the turns. But the handling of the Ferrari and Ascari's driving brilliance had him in the top 10 moving forward when he had a wheel bearing seize. But it was 1952. Let's get back down to Shea.
Well, guys, we have 26 Coppa Shell cars on the grid ready to get things going for round 8 of the championship. It could be anyone's day. We have seen so many different winners across both classes this year. We've seen so many changes as a result of those race wins. But before we find out who gets to kiss the yard of bricks just behind Dakota, well, we have to get the race going. And in order to do that, I've been given the honor of giving the starting command to let these men and women, because we do have 2 women in the field, to get their engines going. So drivers, start your Ferrari engines.
Well done by Shea as always, and you can hear in the background those 488 power plants coming to life. And that Hublot safety car about to set the field on its way. And, we were talking a little bit earlier about, in the qualifying session, about Claude Centeretti.
Yes.
He seems to want to keep announcers on their toes because every race there's a different graphics package of the car. The last one I saw, it was... one side of the car was the Brazilian flag, the other the Italian flag, and it's every race it's been different. Here it's a red Ferrari with the bright white letters Vivi across the side. And I asked him, I said, you keep changing it. Is that you're just messing with us? And he goes, no. He said, it's when the sponsor steps up a little bit more, I make the change. And I said, well, that's a good point because at Montreal, Vivi was on the C pillar.
Yeah.
Now it's huge letters across the side of the car. He gets it, and he looked at me. He goes, "But I'm glad I'm keeping you on your toes."
Cheers, Claude. Okay, the cars are being led away then. You were talking there some of the history of Ferrari here at Indianapolis, and of course those supercharged cars. Well, of course, in the Ferrari Challenge now with the 488 Challenge car, first time ever in the Ferrari Challenge and the history of Ferrari Challenge that we have a power plant that's got a turbo.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that has been such a challenge. You talked about it. Drivers that started before, the 458, et cetera, they made the step to this car. They said it was the torque as soon as those turbos kicked in. And, of course, at this level of car design and prep, you don't have a lot of lag, so it's like instant torque. And they said that's what we had to make the huge adjustment to is because it just launches out of these corners so much, loads the rears up so much. And they said that we just had to figure out, all right, how do we adjust our driving a little bit? And the guys that have done a nice job of it are right up at the sharp end as usual.
You're right. There are some that have accommodated it better than others. Let's go through the grid for you then. Front row, Dale Kateches, then Davis alongside. Emil Steen goes from P3 with Horseman P4. Oscar Arroyo then P5, and Ted Giovannis goes from P6 on the grid for Ferrari of Washington. The mix of Shell and Dam drivers. Gianni Grilli P7, then it's Jay Schreibman with work to do perhaps from P8 on the grid. Michael Watt and then Larson alongside. That's the 5th row of the grid. Mark Issa, one to watch I would think from P11 on the grid following that penalty. And Claude Centeretti keeping us on our toes as always from P12 on the grid, completing that 6th row of this very packed grid for the Coppa Shell race here.
Let me just make a note. Look at Issa's time and all the times around him.
Absolutely.
But he's got to get this done early.
You're right. And early is going to be when the tyres afford the most grip for him. As we continue our look down the grid then, as we go to the 7th row with Campbell and Kemp, and then it's Choxy and Davis then on the 8th row of the grid. Varvig goes from P17 with Petrovic going from P18 representing Ferrari of Long Island. And then it's Lisa Clark then going from P19 on the grid. Eric Marston goes from P20 ahead of Lance Corley, Al Heggie. Then it's Eileen Bildman. Niels Langberg goes from P24 for Ferrari South Bay. What a big grid of cars it is for the Coppa Shell race here at Indianapolis. The Ferrari Challenge weekend here continues, and the 30-minute race about to get underway. The cars are on their formation lap as we complete our look through the grid of cars then that are going to contest this race. It's Perescoia and Lenchi then that round out the starting grid for race number 1 of 2 this weekend.
Had a little bit of a chat earlier in the weekend with Eric Marston, who was just elated because he had that great run at Montreal and then had that problem in qualifying this morning. So he's got work to do. And you can see that sharp end of the field, pretty good, but the back end of the field really scrappy, but green flag flies nonetheless. And here we go. Davis, he's got a nose ahead of Dale Katechis as we head down into turn 1. Dale's not going to give it up easy. He's going to get squeezed. Davis going to try and sweep the outside. If he can stay there, no. Dale able to come through, and a couple of cars having to take big evasive down into turn 1, and now more contact. Back in the order just a little bit. There's the 188. I think, or is that Curzon,
isn't it? I think it's the Varwig car, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And
what a shame. Ooh.
Also, there is that's the Rudolph Alenci car, I think, the 133 car, also in that and damaged as well. So early stages of this race, and for my money, you called it absolutely right. The front part of the pack got a brilliant start. The rest of them, it was very, very scrappy indeed. And well, as the cars continue on their way now on this opening lap, the one that's going to really have to make move early on is Mark Issa. That's one that we're keeping our eyes on now. And Mark Issa, you can see behind that 151 car of Cloud Ceneretti at the moment.
Interesting to see what would have happened there, because Lenzi started basically at the very back of the field.
Full course yellow, Greg. Forgive me interrupting.
No, understood. And yeah, that's going to settle things. And with that car sitting right down at the exit of turn 1, obviously you've got to get these cars reeled in just a little bit. Boy, Katechis had driven a brilliant opening lap, though, hadn't he? He'd opened up a little bit. He'll be a little frustrated here.
It was really interesting watching him into that turn number 1, Greg, because he knew he'd got to protect that inside line, and you know, he protected it in a very robust fashion, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah, and Davis, I mean, he did what, you know, he thought the way that Katechis was sticking to the inside, Davis thought I could turn in and pinch him a little bit. And it almost worked, but then there went Katechis. And watching the background, there comes Lenzi, way too hot.
Yeah.
And I think he just kind of lost track of his braking zone with all those cars in front of him fanning out.
Came from a long way back, didn't he?
Yeah, and that, you know, that's one of those things. You get a big head of steam because you're so far behind everybody.
Yes.
But you've got a huge head of steam built up. Then cars start scattering, and you just lose track of your braking zone just a little bit. And suddenly you realize, oh, I'm way too hot here.
Oh, look at that car crabbing now into the pit lane.
That's a right rear axle is probably, that's Varwig. We saw have that problem earlier. Well, that's a shame. So Shea had talked about it. He hasn't raced with us for a while here in this championship. Raced earlier in the season and came back, you know, an opportunity to run at Indianapolis and the like, and then to have that an incident early on here. That's a real shame.
So whilst full course yellow is in operation, of course the clock continues to count down. The race is here, not number of laps, but by duration. The Hublot safety car then leading the cars around one by one, of course, and the safety car will stay out for as long as is necessary for the recovery operation to be completed. And could notice through that turn number 1 there was a bit of debris there as well. That's all going to have to be cleared up before we can go back to full race conditions, which we hope won't be too long. But the order, for what it's worth, is Katechis from Davis, Milstein. Best of the AM drivers is Brad Horstman in P4. He has Oscar Arroyo behind him in P5. But he, of course, one of the Coppa Shell drivers. And there, the 108 car that we can see on Mark Davis. And we have probably from this full course yellow lost at least 2 cars, I think, with damage which was such that I don't think those cars, despite a visit to the pit lane, will be out again.
I would agree. Obviously, Lenzi in particular, but Varwig with that issue. And you know who this is hurting is Issa.
Yeah.
Because he needed to have this full race time to be able to work his way up and get to the front. And every lap under caution here, he is losing that valuable time. He's right behind Ceneretti. There is Issa right there, that yellow Ferrari with the black stripe right down the center.
So yes, you're absolutely right. This is hurting him, man. So Varwig, one of the casualties of that incident. Let's hear from Shea.
And done for the day, guys. Broken rear suspension, both sides. And as you can see from the pictures, the right rear is pushed up in a manner which it shouldn't be, which is also affecting the exhaust.
Great shame. Early retirement then for the 188 car out of the race.
Yeah, truly unfortunate. Again, somebody coming back like that. You had Varwig, I think Colley was involved as well, and he's now at the back of the field and showing no lap completed here. So Lance Colley, one of the drivers that was involved in that incident as well, and that's quite unfortunate. One of the Coppa Shell drivers coming in top 10 in the points, so that'll be a hit. There you can see Centeretti in that red car with the bright white Vivi, which is a high-tech sort of software company.
Being chased, well, not at the moment, of course, but of course he's got Mark Issa right up his trumpet, hasn't he?
Yes, he does. Issa's right there, and here's the thing: those guys, they're in the same category.
Yes.
And so, I mean, Issa was in terms of qualifying speed, Issa at that 127.399, and Centeretti at a 129.0, so about 1.6 seconds Issa at the end. But this is racing now, and Centeretti and Watt and everybody have absolutely no obligation to do anything except fight hard for their positions, and that's exactly,
of course,
what they're going to do. Couple of things here. Shea had talked about the struggles of Schreibman just because of a complete lack of time due to business commitments to do much learning on this track, and what a quick study he's been. Mark Miller doing a superb job coaching him up here and getting him around. Mark has run this track before as well in the Tudor sports car days, and so he's got some real ability to show some things. But Ted Giovannis, I was talking with Hugh, Hugh Plum, his driver coach, and he said, Ted, from the very first time he got behind the wheel of the car here for this event, has felt very much at home, loves the track, lots of confidence, good speed, and it's nice to see him right up there, and just had a great qualifying run, and he's going to be somebody to watch in this race, I think.
We were watching Neil Langberg there in the 153 car. Neil Langberg, of course, driving for Ferrari South Bay, engineered by Scuderia Corsa, one of the gentleman racers. And as we continue with this full course yellow here, we are under the safety car in this very early stage of the race, following a coming together through turn number 1. And there is the yellow and black car of Mark Issa that we've been talked about now. Mark Issa picking up a penalty following some discretionary issues at Montreal. That means that he's starting way down the order in comparison to his lap times and what they would lead you to believe. Now, part of the Ferrari Challenge is, of course, that a number of these drivers have driver coaches that you just mentioned, just one or two of them, and of course the coaches at the moment will be telling their drivers that you've got to remain calm, cool, and collected, but to try and maintain some temperature into those tyres by just exercising the brakes every now and again, because the heat dissipates out of the brakes and through the disc system, doesn't it, into the tyres to try and generate some temperature. Because actually, in truth, without one full lap having been completed, the heat cycle that the tyres go through hasn't really reached optimum, has it?
No, they never got there. You're right. And here's the thing: it's the heat in the tire, one, that generates some grip to the track, but also the heat in the tire is what ultimately sets the pressure in the tire, and that pressure in the tire is a huge component of your suspension setup in terms of unsprung weight. And so these engineers, along with Pirelli and the team engineers, they work very hard, and a change of a quarter pound of pressure can have a substantial effect on the handling of a car. So until you get there, oftentimes the car's just not right. It can feel downright diabolical. Then when you hit it and that target number hits, suddenly the car's magic. And then you've got the options. Do we go with an aggressive setup early if we're behind to try and have the tires come in a little sooner, get to the front? They might fall off at the end, but we're in front, then maybe we can defend. There's all these little strategy plays. For Mark Issa, the thought for me would be go with that aggressiveness, because he's quick anyway.
Sure.
Get a really nice aggressive setup on that car, get those tires to come in, make some big moves early, and then be able to hang on just a little bit. But as we talked about, every lap that's trundling away here under yellow, we're starting to lose that. Now it looks like we might be getting back to green here as the safety car has built up a bit of a margin here.
Well, in actual fact, I don't think it is, because I think this is the situation where they've almost gapped into two packs of cars.
I think you are right. It caught me out completely here.
Which is not the way it should be done.
No.
All the cars should be following the Hublot safety car, but clearly some of them aren't.
Well, and we saw that back part of this field just was a little ungainly at the very start of the race.
The ungainliness continues, doesn't it?
It does. It does. So the other guy that we know has speed is, look at that margin.
Well, so we've got the first 4 cars, haven't we?
All right, just got clarification. Caldy did retire as a result of the contact. So I'm not sure. Is that Horseman just giving himself a little breathing room, perhaps, while he's getting ready here, knowing that they're not going back to green? But the other guy that this is probably hurting is Eric Marston, who had that problem in qualifying. So the time he got is the time. It's not like Issa, who had a fast time and then got demoted. Marsden had a problematic time, but it was because of an issue in qualifying. We know his speed. He, too, needed as much of this race here to continue. Look at that. That flagman is saying, pick it up.
Do come along, gentlemen.
Yes.
Do come along.
And there's Oscar Arroyo, who's moving up alongside going, come on. I don't understand what's going on. You wonder if Horseman has some sort of an issue in the car. Because this is problematic. And if he does, he needs to just pull off to the side so that it's very clear for everybody to go on around me here.
This is extraordinary because he's not picking the pace up at all. So at the moment we've got, as you can see, frustration almost behind in this second pack of the pack of cars. Well, just as we mentioned that, he does seem to get going a little bit. But, very interesting.
And it's possible that he is working on some sort of an issue and he's on the radio in the car.
Maybe,
and he's hitting switches and trying to sort through something. In the end, he says, okay, we're not going green. I'll catch up when
don't worry.
We get the indication here. But
and if I don't, I'm going to have a heck of a flyer. Don't think that would be allowed somehow.
No. So everybody just sort of packed up here at this stage, and we're... All right, well, let's get down to Shea, who's got an update on Oscar Arroyo.
Part of the issue with him going slowly, guys, is that they're trying to figure out in what order the cars should be as to where they were when the caution came out. Bradley Horseman was ahead of Oscar Arroyo. He was not cleared to go past until race control just gave the edict about 30 seconds ago. So Arroyo knew he was in the wrong, and he was trying to let Horseman past, but Horseman didn't know to go.
That explains it.
Makes total sense now. So now it looks like everything should be in the right order at this stage then. And at that point, Horseman should be able to close up in the back of the field here. Currently fastest race lap.
Don't go there.
A sparkling 251.286. I know. Yep, and here now we can see it that
Did
Horseman.
Did I spy the lights out on the safety car? I did.
Yes, you did. Eagle eye that you are.
So we're about to go racing, and this is going to be almost half distance, isn't it?
Yeah, it is actually. And here we go. And look at Davis using a little bit more of a run. Katechis squaring that up just a little bit. Green flag.
He did a good job, in my opinion, because Davis would need to anticipate when Katechis was going to go for it. Look at Mark Issa then going to try and take 2 at once here, going into turn number 1. All of a sudden, this is going to become very busy indeed.
Yeah, and you can see Centeretti defended, and Michael Watt way wide up and around the outside of 1. And Issa may have been able to get through on Watt as a result of that wide run. He did.
So Mark Issa
that's going to be very close. Yeah, I thought that was going to end in tears. That was Bill Kemp, who thought Watt had left the door open again and tried to get down underneath. And at the last second realized that Watt was closing that door in a big hurry and dipped the brake. It all worked. Very late move by Centeretti. Did he get it done? Got down to the inside of the 163 of Schreibman.
Here comes Issa then trying to take advantage as well. At the same time, the hole in the air that's being provided for him at the moment, and Issa is trying to take advantage of that. He's the one that's really got to make a move early on in this, well, I say early on, the early second part stages of this race. And I tell you what, he's really pushing him and chasing him here, isn't he? Great racing going on.
He is. Centeretti is being very aggressive in his defense of that position here. I think he recognizes Issa does have some speed, and he got offline, Centeretti did. Issa thought about coming through in a spot you normally don't, and Santoretti just came right across on him. And they are both starting to find some speed here. And that is Giovannis up in front of them. Here comes Issa. You can see Santoretti protecting the inside, and Issa got a great run through 14. Now the question is he going to be clear enough of Santoretti?
Oh, he's done it.
So tight.
I tell you what, that was a very good move because the car looked very loose under braking, didn't it? And I didn't think he was going to be able to hold on to that. But that was a brilliant overtake from Mark Issa, who now goes for another one now. Mark Issa on an absolute mission here as he goes past the Ted Giovannis car and right alongside Ted Giovannis is Cloud Santoretti. He's gone through as well. So now Santoretti knows that if he can stick in behind Mark Issa with the pace that he has and the aggression that he has, if he just follows through the hole that he's making, wow, brilliant racing and brilliant driving from Mark Issa.
And again, keep in mind, Giovannis runs in the AM category, so those two cars that came through were not in the AM category.
Sure.
However, it got him enough offline for Ted Giovannis that Schreibman, I thought I saw in the background, was able to take a run. Didn't see if he was able to complete the move and get through, but he certainly is pushing him as we go back up to the front. There's Horseman in that red Ferrari with the black stripe. He is leading in the AM category. Oscar Arroyo in the white machine right behind him. Right now, 5th overall, 4th in Coppa Shell.
So the car sounding and looking brilliant then in this somewhat shortened race following that full course yellow period. As they cross the line, then break the timing beam and across the bricks, of course, as they head into turn number 1. Just taking a look at the inside, this is going to be a potential move here, but thinks better of it.
Yeah, that was from way too far back. If he had tried to do that, there would certainly have been contact. But what that did now for Oscar is it slowed him down. He had to tighten that corner up and watch. Then there's Grilli, and then there's that bright yellow machine of one Mark Issa that now, because of that change in line and loss of momentum, he is going to be coming after him. There he is.
So yes, there is Mark Issa, who is currently running P7 overall, which is P5 in the Coppa Shell class. And Mark Issa next in the target sights is the 165 car of Gianni Grilli for Ferrari of Quebec, and he needs to get past these cars as quickly as possible because the clock is counting down and we're already into the final 13 minutes of this race. So for Mark Issa, it's really been compromised, and he, one of those that's been hurt the most, if you like, from that full course yellow period.
Absolutely. And as we're watching Issa there, just to confirm, Schreibman, Giovannis, when those two guys, and I'm talking about Santoretti and Issa, went through on him, it got him offline enough. He may have dirtied up his tires a little bit.
Sure.
Both Schreibman, Kemp have gone by him, and Michael Watt, who's a Coppa Shell driver as well. So Ted has dropped back 4 spots in that exchange. That's a tough one for him. There's a look at the 150 of Watt.
So Michael Watt, then Ferrari of Atlanta, and the order then Dale Katechis and then Davis and Milstein in the Shell drivers. And wow, look at this.
Issa pulls out, gets around. He had a great run again out of 14 and has gone by Gianni Grilli and picked up yet another spot up to 6th overall.
So Issa now, the next in his target sights, of course, is going to be Oscar Arroyo, who is in class, isn't he? He's another Shell driver, so this is going to be another place for Mark Issa, but a place that counts, if you like, effectively. So Katechis, Davis, Milstein, then it's Oscar Arroyo and Mark Issa already up to P5.
Well, this is going to be crucial because this is the first time now Issa's had some clear track for a little bit.
Yeah.
And he needed that because he does have speed, and he needed a clear run so he could get to Arroyo in a hurry. And look at how quickly he ran him down.
He's much later in braking, isn't
he?
Really, really aggressive strategy that he's using here with the remaining 11 1/4 minutes of this race remaining.
Watch him. This is that key turn 10. See how much later he turned in?
Yes.
So now he's able to pick the throttle up and look at the run. He gets coming right up onto the back of Arroyo here, down through 11. You're probably not going to try much here into 12, but his magic has been he has got 13, the exit of 13 figured out, which gives him an immense run through 14. Watch here. There's that discipline. See how tight to the left he stayed? Now he turns. He's already picked the throttle up, and then he floats it right up to the wall, tries to get a little bit of a draft here.
So is he going to be close enough to have a go going into turn 1? I don't think he is on this
Nope.
occasion, but just watching his craft around those turns, as you've perfectly described that for us, very different lines. And of course, Oscar Arroyo getting the hurry up now because he knows that Mark Issa, he's breathing down his neck. And of course, just ahead of them is Brad Horstman, the foreign cars Italia driver, who is the AM driver running in P4 in the race overall, but leading in terms of his particular class, and almost doesn't want to get involved in this battle because it would be apart from the honours of where you finish in the race overall, it's where you finish in class that means the points. And,
Exactly. Oh, Issa got to run. He's going to look to the inside. Now tucks back in. And I think he may have tried that. I think he was a little concerned about Horseman up in front of Arroyo.
Perhaps.
If he had decided to just dive down to the inside. And that shows some pretty good racecraft and track awareness. So now he's got to try and get it done over in this section of track. Boy, you got to run there.
They are virtually welded together, aren't they?
Yep.
Issa chasing down Oscar Arroyo then. And into that turn they go. And
Well, this is interesting because Issa's pressure is forcing Arroyo to pick the speed up.
Yes.
And it's got him now trapped behind Horseman.
And Horseman is playing into this battle to the disadvantage potentially of Oscar Arroyo, isn't he? As Dale
He is.
Katechis, look, what margin in the
Look
lead
at
he's
that,
got, 5.3 seconds.
What a run. And Milstein now coming after Davis.
I
There,
agree.
that white car, Davis in second, Milstein third in the the red and black Ferrari. It's a good scrap for the second and third spot here. And they're a good 3 seconds clear of Horseman. And then the Arroyo-Issa battle.
And the longer Issa is stuck behind Horseman and Arroyo, of course, it's denying him the valuable points that he wants to bank to get us high up the order. Well, both Arroyo and
Now they've gone through on Horseman.
they have.
So now, boy, Issa got again a really solid run through that 5-6 chicane, little split, shows the nose, and he got Arroyo to turn in a little early here. See if he's able to do anything with it on the exit. It's just so tight right in this section.
So Oscar Arroyo then really having to drive with a defensive mind because full his rearview mirrors are of the yellow and black Mark Issa machine, and wherever Mark Issa positions the car, Oscar Arroyo has got to try and cover that off and defend, hasn't he?
Yep.
We've got just under 8 minutes of this race remaining, and it's a question, I think, of when, not if, he's going to come through here, but he's just trying to find his place. He looks like, he's able to show his the front of his car into the mirrors of Oscar Arroyo. You're absolutely right in that this has pushed Oscar into a faster pace than perhaps we would have seen. But Issa now, as they heading up towards the turn number 1, I don't think Issa is as close as we've seen.
No.
And just hearing here that Oscar Arroyo may have been a little bit too aggressive in his defense.
Way wide.
And race control just taking a look at that. But Mark Issa now has surely been gifted an opportunity with Oscar Arroyo carrying too much speed and not being able to take the turn as he would have liked. That just threw an opportunity potentially into Mark Issa, who's cleaner, tidier through the turns here. Surely he's going to be able to carry the speed, and what he needs to do is get out of the tow that he's picking up now and dive alongside Oscar Arroyo, and surely, as I said, it was a question of when, not if, he would eventually be able to go by. It's probably taken him 20 or 25 turns more than he would have liked.
Absolutely. And again, it was a very sturdy defense, let's say, by Oscar Arroyo, but the insistence of Mark Issa eventually paying off here. And what was nice there, when Issa got that run, got up along the inside, Arroyo did something pretty smart. Instead of contesting it all the way to the apex of 7, I think he breathed it, let him through, got into his draft, so that he could make sure that Horseman didn't come streaming down the inside as well.
You can see now from this drone shot, can't you? Now that Issa has been released, just look at the margin he's been able to build up straight away. Now, what have we got left here? 6 minutes of the race remaining. Issa is some bit down on Milstein, isn't he? And well, there you can see, you can just
a little over
see.
3 seconds.
Yeah, it's a big ask, isn't it, for him to get another place here. P4 then for Issa, P5 for Arroyo, and of course the race being led by Dale Katechis, who is 6.5 seconds up the road.
And then take a look, that Ferrari red with the white nose, that's Jay Schreibman. Again, this is such a great story. Third right now in class after never having seen this track. A couple of hours on a sort of simulator, not one of the top ones that you would normally train on, just to try and figure it out, and has been able to put together a run like this and flatten that learning curve just a little bit, and listening clearly to his coach's instructions about giving it a bit of welly through turn 4. He said that was the area where his coach was saying, you got to pick the speed up. If you get through 4, you've got this, and he's been really stout.
So the standings, as you can see, for the AM drivers, Horseman, Grilly and Schreibman. Then it's Kemp, Chavanis and Davis ahead of Campbell, Clark, Marston and Billman, Choxey and Langberg. So Eric Marston has made up some places, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. And I mean, once he could kind of get things moving just a little bit, you knew he had some speed. And he just had that problem in qualifying. And that long, was it almost 13 minutes of caution?
Yeah. Really
hurt him a bit, too, at this stage. But look at this. Issa now has trimmed that margin down as he comes by to about 2 seconds adrift of Davis and Milstein. And with the speed that he's able to run, Milstein, Issa now setting fast lap of the race at a 1:29.4. And the guys around him, Milstein and Davis, in the mid to high 130s.
He's on a charge, isn't
he? He is.
Now, earlier on, we looked at this with 4 minutes remaining and saying, now, these are the two cars, effectively, that Issa has within his target sights. And, of course, Milstein, which is the car that he's going to be closest to, is running in P3. So, Mark Issa knows that, you know, potentially, if he could get a podium out of this, it would be a job very well done. Indeed, I think still it's going to be a very, very big ask, because he may even be able to close up onto the back of them with the pace that he's showing. But he's still got to find a way round. And given how long it took him to get by Oscar Arroyo, I don't think that's a given.
Not at all. And yeah, what's the old adage? Catching him's one thing, passing is another. And I think you're absolutely onto something there. But look at the charge he's putting together. Whoa,
of course,
an opportunity there is Milstein.
What will play into his hands is the more these two fight, because that's going to slow them up. And he's just going to be waiting to take advantage of that. And do you know what? Now, perhaps earlier than I anticipated or expected, he is on them.
Well, I think it's exactly what you're talking about. Milstein and Davis got into a little bit of their own battle. You can see dropping a tire, dirt and dust flying up in the air, killed their momentum, and Issa is now there. And keep in mind, Davis second in the points right now in that white and red machine. Coming right at us here. Look at Issa swinging to the outside of Milstein. Now he's going to try and get squared up, get to the throttle a little bit sooner. This is what he did to Arroyo.
All of a sudden, Milstein is feeling pressure like never before, as Mark Issa then is looking for a podium place out of this race. And do you know what? We thought it would be impossible. However, driving a supreme race, Mark Issa, he takes a look at the inside. Good racing between the two of them, to be fair. Awareness that they are there. Of course, this is playing into the hands of Davis, who's able to escape up the road, isn't he? And rub his hands with invisible soap. Because, of course, these two fighting now. We've got less than 2 minutes remaining. And here comes... and he's going to be squeezed by a backmarking car. Mark Issa then continuing his quest. Look, and has he got a better run here as he gets to the outside? That will give him potentially more.
There it is.
Was sheer pressure, wasn't it? Sheer
Absolutely.
pressure on the Milstein car, who loses it and loses it again in his quest to get going. And now, very dangerous, but good avoidance by everybody else. Well, we didn't think that Issa would be able to do it. And do you know what? I'm inclined to say now it might not be P3, it could be P2.
He's got 2 laps. That Katetchis came through, and on the board he had about a 5-second margin. And so they went, nope, we got 2 laps to go. And now Davis has to dig deep. And you're right, Milstein just felt a little bit too much pressure there as they got into turn 12, carried too much speed in, and you can just see the whole car just did a flat slide sideways, and he couldn't quite save it, and through went Issa. But now what can Davis do to defend? This is something else.
This is a brilliant drive from Mark Issa in the second half of this race. Now, Davis is really under the pressure that was felt by Milstein just a few moments ago, as Mark Issa on his quest to not only be on the podium, but to be as high up the steps as he can possibly be. And P2 is within his sights. But what he's got to do is get past that Ferrari of Palm Beach car, which is ahead of him. Just a couple of laps ago, I would have said it was almost impossible. But Mark Issa has proved once again what a huge talent he is. And he's got this car absolutely wound up. And in so doing, he's winding up Davis ahead of him. He needs Davis to make the same sort of mistake that Milstein did.
He just made a little one. Missed the apex there, going through 13. What Davis needs to do is not miss his marks. Ride your line, hit your brakes, do your turn in. Don't try and hustle the car right now. Just hit your marks. Make it tough for Issa to get by. Don't gift him. And that's what his mission is right now. You saw the white flag is out. We're on the last lap. And there's Davis, just a little bit of a defense that's just sort of to dissuade him.
Oh, this is extraordinary.
Don't open the door up.
I often say the cars are welded together. It's as if they're painted in the same shade. They're that close, isn't it? But at the moment, Davis doing a very good job in defending, and he is under enormous pressure. Here's Dale Katechis, who is leading the race. But look at this fight that's going on behind for P2 at the moment. This has got to be one of the races of the season so
and a late
far.
move.
And one of the drives of the season from Mark Issa.
Couldn't quite get it done. Davis, felt the heat, ran a little wide. Issa gets completely sideways trying to stay out of hitting him.
But he saved it.
He did.
And it's not all over yet. Or is it? Where is there on this track that he can have another go, because we are on the last lap?
Well, turn 12 is where we saw Milstein make the mistake. Davis right now has to just hit your marks. Don't overdrive this corner. Ooh, got in a little hot. There you go. He got in just that bit too hot, and there goes Issa around the outside.
So here comes Davis trying to come back. The back end of the car, let's go. It's been a remarkable drive. Dale Katechis, though, will take the checkered flag. But for my money, the drive of the day has come from Mark Issa to take P2. Ahead of Davis now, P3. Greg Creamer, if you'd have told me that's going to happen, I wouldn't have believed you. I know, the 163.
That's Jay Schreibman from third.
Jay Schreibman has gone around.
Oh, no. An opportunity for a superb finish for him. Boy, so much unfolding here right at the end, but what, as you said, an amazing drive by Issa. It certainly was helped when Davis and Milstein got into battle mode and slowed themselves both down a little bit, and that allowed Issa to get there. And when Issa got, you look at the margin in qualifying that Issa and Katechis had in the rest of the field, in terms of speed, they had him covered, and letting Issa get that close.
What a race.
Wow. And then, I'll tell you, he just overdrove just that little bit. Davis did down into turn number 12, ran a little bit wide, and Issa just squared up underneath him. Look at that. Was that Issa pointing to? I thought he was pointing to a broken mirror from some close racing, but I think he was just waving, I think, at Davis, just saying, good fight, good fight. And to Issa's credit, when he had that run down to the inside in 7, and Davis stayed put around the outside, which I thought was a beautiful piece of driving by Davis. Issa almost lost the car trying to stay out of hitting Davis. So there was a lot of respect between those guys, no question. But just some superb racing. And for Dale here, what a brilliant run. But I tell you, he has been really hooked up as of late. Second in Montreal in the second of the 2 races there, as we take a look at some of the highlights here. But this is his first win on the year. Watching the background, there you see Lenzi just comes in, big head of steam, and just collected the 188 of Barwig, and they were done. On the restart, you can see Katechis just opened up a huge margin early, and Issa started the charge.
And what a charge it would be. Look at this, as one by one he picked them all off. He will argue that it took him longer than it should have done for him to be able to pick the cars off ahead of him, but one by one, that's exactly what he did.
Absolutely, and here he got by Horseman, now working on Arroyo in the white entry. Got the run through the quick 5-6 flicks, and Arroyo let him through cleanly at that point, knew he had it. then here, you can see that Milstein just running way wide on the exit of 12, and Issa just slices through. And then watch this here. This is down into 7. You can see Issa turns in, thinks he's got it, then checks up because he was going to get right into the back of Davis. That was good respect. But then here's where Davis is running a little wide. And yeah, Issa did. He was pointing at that. He did turn his mirror.
Yes.
Good close racing. And what a comeback drive by Issa. But Dale Catechis getting the overall in Coppa Shell win. And still Horseman from pole to the win, 5th overall in Coppa Shell Am.
Wow, what a race. The celebrations going on down there in Parfumé at the moment then. And, well, there is Mark Issa just out of the car. And what an extraordinary drive.
Yeah, it really was. Just that fight up through the pack was just superb.
Oh, and look at this. Brilliant camaraderie look between Issa and Davis.
Yeah. Look at Davis.
Oh, that is great to see, Greg. Great to see.
And I thought, when I saw him pointing, I thought that mirror looked a little, and I went, no, it's okay. Yes. And then we saw that replay, and no, he definitely juked that mirror loose just a little bit. So for Dale, I mean, this is essentially his 7th podium of the year. So it's that kind of consistency that has him up in the points. But first win, and at Indy no less, that's pretty special.
That's special, isn't it?
It is. Now Issa gets the point for fast lap.
Fast lap.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by that. Most overtakes. I mean, if there were points awarded, if there was an entertainer of the day, it would have to be him as well, wouldn't it? I'm sorry to say, but
yes.
Yeah, actually,
but I mean,
no,
look at it was less. It was less though than a 10th his lap from Catechis. I mean, so Dale was throwing down some awfully quick laps, and then a nice run by Bill Kemp. As Shea said, haven't seen him a lot, and he comes through and gets fast lap in the Coppa Shell Am category, but with, I'm sure, an elated first-time winner, Shea.
Well, Dale Catechis, 3 third-place finishes, 3 second-place finishes. Is this the first of your 3 wins this year?
Yeah, feels pretty good. Yeah.
That was one heck of a drive. You were in a different zip code from everybody else there. Were you bored at all?
No, I wasn't bored at all. The team gets all the credit. They set the car up. The car was driving perfect. I just finally, for once, did what they told me to do. So it was a great race, and just fortunate to be here.
Same strategy for tomorrow, then?
Excuse me?
Same strategy for tomorrow, then?
Yeah, same strategy.
Excellent. I'll see you here in about 23 hours.
Thanks so much. Bye.
I like that. Same strategy. Yep. Do what the team tells me.
It was the I love you, Dale, in the background.
That was awesome. Awesome. That was such good stuff. And what a drive, as you said, by Issa. And incredible. And, I mean, Davis was so close. I mean, one corner.
Yeah.
And he would have defended that off. It would have been phenomenal. And the guy who was sort of swallowed up in an awful lot but ends up getting a class win, Shea, Mr. Horseman.
It was his first pole today. Now it's his first win in this series. Congratulations, Brad. A winner at Indy.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe, I guess. I'm sure it won't sink in until next week when I watch the replay and see you and me on TV. And but yeah, I'm without words. It's phenomenal. I mean, I'm looking at the podium right behind you. It's a special place.
With your family at home watching back in North Carolina, what sort of emotion does it bring out?
Well, stick with me another minute. You might see some tears.
I'm not going to do that to you, my friend. Congratulations. Enjoy your champagne.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, he has had an absolutely tremendous last few races, Mr. Horseman has. I mean, you think about it, two second-place finishes at Montreal.
Yeah.
You know, coming into Laguna Seca, he was well down the points order, and now coming into this event, he sits 4th and gets a win on top of it. He's making up some big ground here.
Confirmation of the top 3 in each category then. Catechis, Issa and Davis in Coppa Shell. And the AMs, Horseman, Grilly and Kemp taking the 1, 2, 3. That is something of a legendary Coppa Shell race, I have to say. That will go down as one full of drama, but full of extraordinary overtaking as well. And forgive us for perhaps overplaying the Mark Issa. P2, but it was an extraordinary run. In the Drivers' Championship then, Mark Issa then banking as many points as he possibly could, and bearing in mind he gets another point, doesn't he, for fastest lap. He's on 148 now, with Brian Davis on 126, with Dale Katechis now on 117 points.
And that was the big thing for Issa. I mean, Katechis, was going to get the win. He had that big margin, but he was a little bit farther down the points order.
Yeah.
Getting around Davis was big for Issa in terms of the points, and I'm sure Brian Davis is absolutely frustrated because he had opportunity to close that margin up by just a little bit. And then you take a look at what's unfolding here. Coming in here, Schreibman had about a 13-point lead over the rest of the field. Horseman jumps from 4th to 2nd. Wow. Tied for 2nd with Grilly now. And with Marsden having his issues and Schreibman having that last lap issue, boy, this championship is on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's the very special moment. They've made an allowance here for all 4 of the class winners today. And you know what's at their feet. And this is a very special moment and a bit of a tradition when you win here at Indianapolis. Our 4 class winners. Anytime, gentlemen.
Brilliant.
Just phenomenal. That is awfully cool for sure.
Something very special, isn't it?
Yes, truly is. Truly is.
Cliff, can you clear me?
So they're going to be hustled off up to the podium now. Indianapolis Motor Speedway, racing capital of the world, and the opportunity to kiss the bricks is something very special indeed. And we just saw there the museum, didn't we? Which, in its own right, is something very special. If you're here, it's a must-do, isn't it?
It is, and I mean it's worth its own specific journey just to see the museum and then get a tour of this speedway as we take a look now at the Race 1 classification with that win by Katechis and that remarkable drive by Issa.
Yeah, it's followed by Davis and Arroyo, and then the AM drivers, Brad Horseman, Gianni Grilli, then P1 and P2, but P5 and 6 in the race overall. Then it was Milstein, Watt, Kemp, and Chivanis rounding out the top 10 overall. And to the second page of the classification then, Larson, Campbell, Davis, Schreibman, who of course went round right at the end, Lisa Clark, Eric Marston, Penovich, Joxie, Eileen Bildman, Al Heggie, rounding out the top 20. And the final page then, Langberg, Perescoia, and Glad Senaretti. And of course we lost Varwig, Corley, and Rudolph Alenci in that early lap 1 incident.
Absolutely, and I think the guy who's going to be gutted here is going to be Schreibman, who had that 3rd place, ended up 7th with that moment. And this is sort of in an interesting, sort of modus operandi moment for him. Whenever he's had a bad first race, he usually comes back with an absolutely sparkling second race, and we get to see him do it again tomorrow. I think we're in for another great race, day of races tomorrow, actually.
Indeed, and from Greg and myself, thanks so much for watching. Make sure you join us tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.